Have you ever wondered which GTA game can be made into a perfect movie? Let's talk. One game you probably are thinking about is GTA Vice City. Now, I know some people say it would just be another generic gangster movie, but hear me out. I actually think Vice City has a lot of cinematic potential that could make for a really compelling crime drama on the big screen. First off, let's talk about the story. It's not overly long or convoluted, which is often a pitfall for video game movie adaptations. The core narrative of an undercover cop infiltrating a criminal empire has been done before, sure, but Vice City puts its own unique 80s Miami spin on it. And I think that vibrant setting could really pop in a movie with the right direction and production values. But what I'm most drawn to is the protagonist, Tommy Vercetti. This dude is straight up gangsta from the moment we meet him. He doesn't mess around. Yet he also has layers and an interesting character arc as he goes from just being a made man to trying to become a kingpin himself. I think with the right actor and writing, Tommy could be an iconic anti-hero in the vein of Tony Montana. Speaking of comparisons to Scarface, people may write Vice City off as just ripping that off. But I'd argue the game's tongue-in-cheek satirical tone and over-the-top violence differentiates it quite a bit. If done well, a Vice City movie could be a slick, stylized crime romp that's definitely violent but also doesn't take itself too seriously. Of course, a lot would depend on getting the right cast and creative team on board to really nail that delicate balance of campiness and grit. But I truly believe the source material is there to make something special if handled properly. While we're on the topic of potential GTA movies, I think GTA 4 is another installment that could translate really well to the big screen, but it would be a stark contrast in tone from a Vice City film. Where Vice City is over the top, satirical, and full of wild crime antics, GTA 4's story is much more grounded and dramatic. The tale of Niko Bellic, a war veteran from Eastern Europe who gets drawn into the criminal underworld after coming to America, has a strong, tragic anti-hero vibe. I could see a GTA 4 movie being a gritty crime saga in the vein of classics like The Departed or The Untouchables. Niko is a heavy, morally complex protagonist dealing with guilt, loyalty, and the harsh realities of the American dream turning sour. His rise through the ranks of the NYC underworld and feuding criminal factions has all the makings of an epic crime drama. That said, accurately capturing the dark tone and subject matter would be crucial. Go too over the top or campy, and you'd lose the dramatic weight that makes Niko's journey so compelling. This would need to be a prestige film with an incredible lead actor capable of bringing Niko's depth and internal struggles to life. The setting could also be a big plus. While not as vibrant as Vice City's Miami atmosphere, GTA 4's modern-day NYC is still uber-stylized and ripe for awesome set pieces. From gritty subway brawls to high-speed car chases through Brooklyn and Manhattan, get the right crew on board and the visuals could be stunning. However, one potential pitfall is the complexity of GTA 4's story, with all its twists and factions. The game's narrative is dense, so translating that to a tight 2-hour movie script could be tricky without losing substance. But an excellent screenwriter could probably distill it down properly. Overall, I think GTA 4 has serious potential to be an awesome, grounded crime thriller in the right hands. But these are worthy games, but there's one game I believe simply won't work. GTA 3. The biggest hurdle is the silent protagonist. Having a lead character who never speaks a single line of dialogue would be incredibly difficult to pull off in a compelling way for a feature-length movie. So much of storytelling and character development relies on the protagonist's dialogue and inner voice. A silent lead could really undercut the audience's ability to connect and empathize with them on an emotional level. On top of that, GTA 3's overarching narrative is admittedly the most bare-bones of the trilogy. Sure, it revolutionized open-world gameplay at the time, but the story itself, with its amorphous plot about getting revenge on your betrayers, lacks cohesion and strong character arcs compared to Vice City and GTA 4's more focused narratives. GTA 3's climax can't quite stick the landing in a dramatically fulfilling way since it devolves into driving to generic gang hangouts to kill your remaining targets. Not exactly movie-worthy stakes or a grand finale. I'm also concerned that without a speaking protagonist to anchor it, a GTA 3 movie would just become an aimless series of over-the-top set pieces and stunts strung together. And while those action sequences could still be insanely entertaining in blockbuster fashion, you'd risk losing any real depth or meaningful storytelling. Now, all that said, perhaps an incredibly creative screenwriter could find an ingenious way to overcome the silent protagonist issue, tighten up the storyline, and add more emotional resonance throughout. but they'd arguably have an easier task adapting the more straightforward narratives of Vice City and GTA 4 instead. So in my opinion, while GTA 3 will always be a revolutionary and beloved game, I agree it would likely make for the weakest and most uneven GTA movie out of the 3D universe titles. Now, let's talk about the big boy, GTA 5. If any GTA game were to get the big screen treatment, GTA 5 seems like the most likely candidate given its massive commercial success and popularity. However, adapting it into a movie would also come with its own set of challenges that would need to be carefully navigated. On the surface, GTA 5's trio of playable protagonists, Michael, Franklin, and Trevor, could be a huge asset for a film version. Having 3 distinct lead characters with their own arcs and perspectives instantly gives you more dramatic meat on the bone than a singular, silent protagonist like in GTA 3. The interweaving storylines and dynamics between the 3 anti-heroes is ripe for complex character exploration. However, juggling 3 leads also presents the scriptwriting task of ensuring each one gets adequate development and screen time without overcrowding the narrative. It's a tight rope to walk in balancing their stories while still maintaining a cohesive, propulsive overall plot trajectory. The temptation would be to shortchange 1 or 2 of the protagonists. As for where a GTA 5 movie story could potentially begin and end, I think kicking things off with Michael getting pulled back into crime after his early retirement makes for a logical starting point. It could reintroduce his character nicely and set up the chain of events that brings the 3 leads together. The finale is trickier to nail down. You'd want to avoid ending things off too abruptly like the game does after the final heist showdown with Devin Weston. One option could be to have an extended denouement exploring the aftermath and show where Michael, Franklin, and Trevor's lives go from there as a way to bring closure to their arcs. Alternatively, you could flip the structure a bit and open the movie towards the end of the game's story, experienced through intercut flashbacks frame narratives as the characters reflect on the mercenary heist life that brought them to that climactic endgame. Sort of like a Reservoir Dogs approach. Regardless of the framing device, I think any GTA 5 adaptation would need to distill down and streamline the main narrative, while likely jettisoning most of the side hustle stuff like swapping real estate or hitting up strangers and freaks between heists. One of the toughest tasks for the screenwriters would be how to handle Trevor's unhinged tendencies in a way that doesn't become too off-putting for mainstream movie audiences. His brand of psychopathic, shocking violence is so unrestrained and central to his character. But there's a line that could get crossed into making viewers simply despise and disconnect from him. It's a delicate tonal balance. On the plus side, the settings of Los Santos and Blaine County would absolutely pop on the big screen if done right. The game's take on modern LA and Southern California is so rich with contrast, satirizing the glamour of Hollywood and Vinewood while also immersing you in the grime and underbelly. A skilled director of photography could really knock the visuals out of the park. The over-the-top heist set pieces, from the prologue jewelry store job to the big score hits on the cartels and Union Depository, also seem tailor-made for blockbuster theatrical experiences packed with thrilling action sequences audiences would eat up. Ultimately, though, I think the make-or-break factor comes down to maintaining GTA 5's carefully threaded balance between hyper-indulgent action/criminal insanity and more grounded social commentary/character work. Push too far in either direction, and you'd likely either lose the outrageous fun that makes GTA so entertaining, or lose the human stakes and dramatic substance. It's a monumental challenge, no doubt. But in the hands of the right auteur filmmakers who respected the source material's core duality, I do think a GTA 5 movie could potentially nail that elusive tonal tightrope and be both a blast of an action flick and a compelling crime character study. It is quite surprising that despite Grand Theft Auto being one of the most successful and iconic video game franchises of all time, there hasn't even been an attempt at making a GTA movie adaptation yet. There are likely several factors at play here. First and foremost, the very premise and content of GTA makes it an extremely risky proposition for any major movie studio to take on. At its core, you have a series centered around players controlling criminal protagonists who engage in a ridiculous amount of violence, from graphic gunfights and murders to carjackings, drug dealings, and other illicit activities. The intensely controversial and deliberately over-the-top nature of GTA has made it a frequent target for moral critics and watchdog groups over the years. So for risk-averse Hollywood executives, giving the green light to a GTA movie would be like painting a huge target on their backs from various social and political fronts. Even if the film went out of its way to rein in some of the more excessive content from the games, the GTA brand alone would likely draw immense scrutiny and backlash simply on principle from detractors. It becomes a PR minefield that few studios would want any part of, despite the built-in audience. There are also valid creative concerns around how you could even properly translate the open-world, player-driven experience of GTA into a more linear, passive medium like film. A huge part of the game's appeal is the sandboxed freedom and playing it your own way. Stripping that agency away could remove much of the spirit that makes GTA special. But in my opinion, the rise of video game movies being made with bigger budgets and ambition, from Sonic to Uncharted to The Last of Us, shows that adapting major gaming franchises to theaters is becoming more viable than ever before when done right. Perhaps as this current wave of game-to-film adaptations unfolds, it could help open the door a bit more for a GTA movie, by demonstrating that gaming's distinct strengths can be successfully captured on the big screen after all, when the source material is treated with care and respect. If a few of these latest game movies turn out to be big critical and commercial hits, it could embolden a studio to finally take the massive gamble on producing an R-rated, mature GTA crime epic with an auteur filmmaker's vision who can deftly walk the tonal tightrope. A big key would be getting the stamp of approval and direct creative input from Rockstar Games. If the developers themselves were heavily involved and had assurances that their controversial but beloved franchise would be handled faithfully and artfully, that could go a long way towards greenlighting a GTA movie. I certainly think the cinematic potential is there, as we discussed with the strong narratives and characters of games like Vice City and GTA 5. And just imagine how insane the heist set pieces and car chase sequences could be on an unbounded theatrical budget. But at the end of the day, the cultural backlash and immense difficulty of capturing GTA's distinctive spirit on film in a way that satisfies both gamers and general audiences makes it unlikely we'll see one anytime soon. Unless some daring studio is willing to be the first at cracking that billion-dollar code. So while I'd never say never, as the game movie renaissance period continues gaining steam, I think the odds we'll eventually get a big-budgeted GTA movie someday are certainly improving bit by bit. It may just take that one groundbreaking, paradigm-shifting video game adaptation to kick the door open once and for all. Only time will tell. Till then, make sure to subscribe if you like videos like this. Comment down your thoughts, and maybe suggest a casting suggestion. Who knows, Rockstar Games might be seeing this video. I'll see you in the next. Till then, take care.